Welcome again, my friend. In the last video, we built a simple resume API using pure Node.js. In this video, we will take things a step further by introducing a framework, Express, and seeing how it simplifies the process. So, enough talking and let's dive in. To start, we will first change the name of this to, let's rename it to Node server so we can have access to it later. And let's start afresh with the new server file, server.js. Okay, so the next step is to install Express. So let's open a new terminal. So you just run yarn install yarn add Express. Okay, it's going nice. So we can confirm that in our package.json we can see we have our dependency Express installed. Nice. Okay, so let's go back to our server.js. So just like when we worked with Node, the first step is to create our server. So we get that from Express. So import Express from Express, and we can say const app equals Express, and we can also define our ports. And to start the server, it will be app.listen, and we listen to the port, and we just console log server is running at ports. I think it's best to put http:/localhost and ports. Yeah, I think it's better this way. So we can run the server using yarn dev. So we're using nodemon to run. Okay, so it's running on localhost 8000. Yeah. Now let's create our first resume. We can check from Node server. We did get resume by ID, and so on. So the first step, let's get resumes. So to do that, it will be app dot. So guess, yeah, exactly. It will be app.get, exactly, and we point to the route we want, which is resumes, and we get our request response. Request response. Okay, and we just send for the response.json. We send the resume. Okay, so we don't have access to the resume. I think we can just copy and paste this right here. We can just reuse it. Yes, so let's just define it here. Yeah, so we just define app.get, then you put in the route parameter and request response, and you can send the response to the client. So it's just as easy as that. res.json resume. So we don't need to set header here because Express already infer the header to set, because we are sending JSON. Although we could use res.send, for example, it will still do the same thing because it will still infer that we are sending JSON file, and we don't need to do JSON.stringify or other stuff we did while we were using Node. So let's just continue with res.json, and we can confirm. Let's open our Postman, new HTTP request, and localhost 8000/resumes. So let's try it. Send. Yeah, we can see that we get, let me just zoom this down a bit. We can see that we get back our JSON data. So next, let's try to get resumes by ID. And if we can remember, when we were working with the Node server, to get a resume by ID, we had to do some regular expression. We had to do some regular expression, but now with Express we can just, so the resume ID is dynamic, so we can just to be /resumes / so we can just add this colon sign, then ID, to be able to access the ID via the param. So request response. Now it doesn't really have to be ID, it could be slug, for example. We just need to add this column sign to make it dynamic. So let's just console log the request.params. So if we go to our postman and let's just do /2, if we send, we see we console log the slug of 2. So yeah, so we can just access it from the params. So let's just put it back to ID as it's more understandable. So let's get rid of this one. Now we are really going to get the ID, but it's going to be in form of string. So they need to be const ID. So we need to make sure it is an integer, a number. So because it's going to be a string, normally we get like 2, for example, and it's string. So next we need to find the resume, and if we find the resume, then we send res.json, we send the resume. So we can also set the status if we want, although it will give us 200, but let's just set the status also. Let's set it to 200 just to be sure we actually set the status. Else, if we don't get the resume, we can just return the 404, resume not found. So with getting resume by ID, we can get the ID because it's dynamic using the colon symbol, and we get the ID, we pass it into integer, we find the resume, and if we find the resume, we send it to the client, else we send the 404. So if 404 is a not found. So that's it for getting resume by ID. Next is to create a resume. So so now we want to create a resume. So, and it is a post request. So it will be app.post, just as it is. Now we are posting to resume and request response. Now to post a resume, to create a resume, we need to access the body. So to access the body in Express, we need to use a middleware. In Node, we had to get the data as chunks and append them to the body to get the entire body. But in Express, we can just use a middleware called Express.js. So we use it as a middleware, and so let's create the middleware. Let's just create it below the data. So middleware to pass the JSON body. So whenever you want to use a middleware in Express, we just use we wrap it in app.use, and we are going to use express.json. So that's to enable us to be able to use to pass the body. And if we come here, we can, let's just console log request.body. In fact, let me even show you something. If we don't have the middleware, we won't even be able to access the body at all, because let me remove that. Okay. So let us console log the body. So let's console log the body. Let's save, and if we go to the local host, so this time it's going to be a post request, and in the body we go to the body, send as raw. Let me bring this one down a bit. So let's use the previous one we have been using to go faster, our same John Wick. So yeah, we have John Wick, and so we should just console log it to the body. It's giving undefined. Okay, what could be wrong? Server, we just getting the body, it should work. Okay, so we're changing this one from text, we are sending JSON, and yeah, so let's cancel and resend. Okay, exactly. So you can see we can get the body from the request. So we can just cancel this and go back to our server.js file. Okay, now that we have access to the body, the next step is, so we create a variable, new resume is equals to the request.body, and we need to just create a new ID. So new resume dot ID equals to the resume, then we add one, we append. Usually we are supposed to have like a generated ID using UUID, or if we are working with database, it's auto generate an ID. But for teaching purpose for this video, we just append a new ID based on the length of the resume. So then we push the resume to the resume array, and we send a 201 status because it's a created. So 201 created, 201 created. So just to remember the status code, so we use 201 because we are creating. So that's it for creating a resume. Now also the next step is if we want to update one of the resumes. So we want to update a resume, and usually with Node we have to use a regular expression to get the ID, but this time, like I said, we can just get the ID directly. So up, and this time it's going to be a put request because we are updating a resume. Resumes / ID. Pardon. So it's going to be a request response. Okay, now we pass the ID just like before passing it into an integer. We get the index of the resume. I prefer to call this resume index, so it's more understandable. So now once we do find index, if it's not part of the array, it's going to return -1. So we need to catch that. So if resume index is equal to -1, so we need to catch it, and we just return 4 resume not found. Else we get the resumes, we get the index, and just append the ID. So we use the same ID as this, and we send a 200 to the client, and we also send the resume data. So that's how to update the resume. So we've done create, we've done create, read, we've done update. So the next one is to delete, and just as the name implies, delete, so it will be app.delete. So we only want to delete one at a time, so it will be resumes / so ID to get the dynamic ID, request response, so we get the ID, the resume index, just like usual. It's very similar to the previous code we wrote, and so we check if it is -1, that is if it is not part of the resume, we return a 44, meaning not found. Else we just do resume.splice, so we remove the element from the array, and we are just removing one at a time. And then next we send the status 204, which means it is successful, but we are not sending any content. Had it been we are sending the resumes, then it will just be 200 because we are sending content, but we are not sending any content, so it's 204. So I think that's it for the delete. So the best thing is to just test this API route to see if it's working. So we've done the posts, and so we did the posts, and we can see we have the years of experience, ID, so everything works well. So we've created John Wick. Also, because we did with raw now for the body. If, for example, we want to like mimic usual form data in the client, we want to use this XWW URL form encoded. To be able to use this, we have to use another middleware, which we just, okay, I think we should just do that now. So the middleware is app.use express.url encoded extended, it should be false, not true, extended false. So let's save. So that way we can be able to use this www form URL encoded. So we can specify name. So let's say Jane Week. We can put email jane@example.com. We can add phone, just put some number, and we can add years of experience. We can put 35, and let's test that. So we can then go back and save. Let's see if the server is okay. The server is okay. So let's send that, and okay, let me just restart the server. Good, and URL encoded, send. Let's check the raw. Oh, it's working. Okay, yeah, it's working. Let's send again. Yeah, so we have Jane Week, jane@example.com, phone, and ID of 6, because we restarted the server and it's cleared it up. Okay, so that's for post, for creating a resume. Let's test for editing a resume. So let's say, for example, we want to edit the 4th resume, so it's going to be put request. Okay, let's just use the URL form encoded. So let's change the name to Jeanette Week, and Jeanette, let's do 15. Okay, and so it's a put request, and let's send. Okay, it's not updating properly as with robots. We get the idea. It's updating, so we have to go back to pretty. I need to restart the postman, but let's just continue this way. So we already edited the previous data in for the ID of 4 to Janet Week. So that's for updating a resume. And lastly, to delete. So to delete, it's going to be delete, and let's say we want to delete the 4th one. Let's just delete the 4th one and send delete. So we are not sending anything to the client. So, and if we check from the header, we can, okay, yeah, it's already here. So status 204, no content. So that is it for creating, updating, reading and deleting. So to move further, I would like us to clean this page a little bit. Let's just clean up this page. And usually we create a route. So let's create a folder route, because let's say we have numerous routes like resumes, applications, jobs. So it will be too much to overload the server.js file. So we create a route folder. So let's create a resume route.js, and let's import Express from Express. So import Express from Express. So now it's a route. So to use route, it's just const router equals to express dot router. So same way, if you want to create, for example, application route, const router express equals dot router. So let's just copy and paste all this. It will make more sense once we see the complete code. Let's pick all this guy right here. Okay, it's cut resume route. So we change all the routes, all the app to router. Okay, our resume, we need to bring in the resumes and up. Okay, so we have router. So let's export this, export default router. So to be able to use this, we have to go to the server.js. To be able to use, we use app.use. So now we just specify all the routes we have in our file. We specify them here. So first we need to import the resume route from this. So after importing, we do app.use. So you specify the path, so it will be /resumes, then the router, then that will be resume route. Now to be able to finally use this, because we've already specified /resumes here in our resume route, we have to remove the /resumes, because now it's going to be /resumes/resumes. This is going to be /resumes/resumes/id. So we just remove this. So we just have the index, which just go to /resumes, and we can just delete all the /resumes. So on VS Code, you can just do Ctrl+Shift+L. It will highlight all the /resumes, and you can just delete. So now everything looks good. So we've made our server.js look a bit calm than before. So we can just quickly test to see if it's working. So let's just get all resume to see if it's working. Send the body. So we have all our data, so everything is looking good. So what next can we do? So we should talk a little bit more about middleware. Although we've done some middleware implementation here using the Express.js and the URL encoded, but let's, for example, we want to log do the logger middleware, just like we did for the Node server. So in Express, we could actually put the middleware in line with the we can just pass it as a parameter with the router. Okay, let me just give an example. For example, we can just do a logger middleware, just call it const logger equals to, so like I said, you take request, response, next, and we call it, and we just console log and next. So we can just pass the logger in line with the parameter, and it will still work. But however, it's only going to work for the index parameter for the /resume. So we can test that. You can ignore this one because it's from TypeScript. So we do a get request. We can see we get /resumes, right? However, if we try to get for example with an ID, we won't get the log because we did not add the middleware to work with other routes. It's just this route. Now if we want to bring it to the app level, so let's just get rid of it. This one, let's get rid of this one. Let's get rid of the logger here. So we have to go to the main server and you have to use it. So it's going to be logger. I think let me just define it here. Define it here, and we have to do app.use logger. Now the entire app has access to this logger. So if I go to the resume route, to the postman, and we send this, we should get the log, right? So that's one way to do the logger and how to add them on different occasions using Express. Actually, there are a lot of middlewares you will use when building your API, but one important one is the error handler middleware. However, to keep this video short, we will talk about it in the next video. So see you on the next.